Oh,
Dunaway.
oh
I
man,
can't believe an Alabama guy was so invested in Tennessee right there.
I like to see good football, man.
Well, it was good football. Didn't matter who won.
I like to see good football. It was a bad call, man. It was a bad call. We'll talk about it here. Let's get going. It's our Cotton Bowl special from Dallas, Texas. We are live now, about an hour and 45 minutes later than we thought we would be. But the Tennessee and Purdue game was that good, and we delayed it a bit, and it just kept going and going and going. But here we are, and we're ready to roll thanks to our great sponsors from Dr. Pepper. And we're drinking the Dr. Pepper again tonight. As always, I'm with the zero sugar. He's with the Dr. Pepper.
We're going to toast.
Diet Dr. Pepper right there. Also, our friends at Wayne's. And our friends at Hemp Hill, our friends at Culver's, and our friends at Champy's, who are bringing you Champy's world famous chicken, who are bringing you our special coverage from Dallas all week long. And we'll start first with what we just saw with Tennessee. We'll get to South Carolina, and then we'll set the table for tomorrow as well. But first of all, hats off to Tom Hart, Jordan Rogers, and Cole Kublik, because their broadcast will be rebroadcast on the SEC network for years to come. That was a classic. Well, maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be on the Big Ten network, because
that's true. Good point.
Yeah, the SEC team lost, because that was going to be a game that we saw on the SEC network in June and July for years and years and years to come. I thought I was going to hear Tommy and Jordan and Cole forever and ever on a summer morning when they're looking for programming, because that was an instant classic of a game. It reminded me, Brown, of the 1980s, the old Holiday Bowl, where you'd stay up late in San Diego and they would just play offense and no defense.
Yeah.
And that's what we had. 48-45, Purdue wins it. Your thoughts? If we sat here and watched this, I will tell you, let people behind the curtain real quick. When he reached the ball into the end zone, what should have been a touchdown, I'm screaming here at the Omni, and we are surrounded by other media people doing their jobs and other things going on in the hotel here. And Brown's like, Dunaway,
settle down. It's not a Bama game.
We're not in a sports bar.
On YouTube, Charles says the refs blew it.
Yes, Charles.
Joey says, as much as I hate Tennessee, the refs have been abysmal. These were not SEC officials, obviously. JW says, I guess Tennessee's two best basketball players didn't play in this one either. Dave says, I need a double Dr. Pepper after watching that fourth quarter. So, yeah, it's
flaming Dr. Peppers later on.
That's right.
Yeah.
Dr. Pepper is bringing you this coverage. College football fans, what started as a season full of rivalries, close calls, and many cold cans of sweet Dr. Pepper is now coming to a close. So raise it, Dr. Pepper, to celebrate another glorious season of football in Fansville by Dr. Pepper, the one fans deserve. Before we get to our first guest, I will say that in college football, the stop the forward progress has become the new bailout on officiating, it seems. Once you rule forward progress is stopped, you can't review it. So that's what happened there.
And I understand that, and you know, that is being pointed out on social media to me, because I thought it was a horrible call. And I'm not doubting the ruling. I'm just saying that, why are you stopping forward progress? Because his feet's churning. He's still moving. We live in a world where we now allow you to push a pile, which used to be illegal. You couldn't pull a player down the field. You couldn't push him down the field. And that changed after the Bush push. We changed the rules, right? And so now a running back can literally be up in the air with neither feet touching the ground in the middle of a human ball of flesh. And you can just push him down the field. And he's got no progress at that point. He's just being pushed. His feet are not touching earth. And we allow that to count. But this guy is still churning, feet on earth, pushing forward, reaches the ball out for a touchdown. Should have been a touchdown. Horrible call. I'm not saying they misapplied the rules. I'm saying they misjudged what should have been the call there.
All right, we're going to talk some about that game. We're going to talk some Alabama and Cincinnati, some Georgia and Michigan. We're going to jump right in, and joining us right off the top here, Mac Hereford, who is the former Alabama player, also played at Vanderbilt, and is very active on social media. Mac, welcome in, first of all. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I really appreciate you guys having me on. I'm super excited. I've obviously watched y'all show a good bit, and just got back to Nashville, so excited for this segment.
Yeah, you can follow Mac on TikTok and Twitter, Mac_Hereford. Which one is which one is just at Mac Hereford?
So at Mac Hereford is the TikTok, and then just the Instagram and Twitter is
All right.
the Mac_Hereford.
And like TikTok, what do you got? Like 260,000 followers on TikTok?
Like 296,000, I think, almost 300,000.
Wow.
Wow.
You do.
So you're either
He's
dance
TikTok famous.
you're either dance well, you have good judgment of food, or you have a lot of good looking women there. Which one is it?
Unfortunately, it's none of those. It's more of just randomness and, having a little bit of, I love the Alabama community that's on there. So I'll poke some fun at the other team. Cincinnati has a guy who's doing some dances and stuff on, I think he danced on an Alabama football shirt. And I made a video just like what's going on. But love the Alabama community on there, and then do a bunch of golf and just family stuff all over the board.
It's really cool. So let's talk about this game coming up. You played at Alabama, 16, 17, 18, 19. So you have been behind the scenes in these types of situations. When you get to the ultimate game, like a semifinal or a national championship game, I've taught so many players to play for Nick Saban, and they say, I know you think it's lip service that he treats every game the same, but he just really it almost feels like it never changes. Was that your experience, that even in these big games like this, he was still the same guy?
Yeah, I mean, that's what he always preaches, and I mean, for the most part, I would say it's true. It's like people saying you can't have favorites and coaches don't have favorites. Like they really do, as much as they try not to. And I think in the same way, it's like Coach Saban wants to prepare for every game the same way. Whether we're playing a Mercer or a Citadel, whatever it may be, versus a big SEC game like the Iron Bowl. He prepares the same way. But I will say that I feel like tensions definitely get a little bit higher in practice during these weeks in the playoffs. Guys are a little bit more locked in, and we talk about the way Saban prepares. He's, really consistent to what he does throughout the whole season. But I would say the guys, there's just a more focus from them, and they realize the situation and how big it is, the college football playoff. So guys are coming into the locker room a little bit more calm, cool, and collected throughout the week. And practice is just like Coach Saban says one thing. He's always like, we got to practice until you can't get it wrong. I know everyone hears that all the time, but he takes that to like a insane level during the playoff week. I remember when Mac Jones and I were doing scout team. I think we were preparing for Clemson in 17, I believe, or 18. One or the other. We were just, making plays on the defense, and Coach Saban was not going to move the next period in practice until they got it sorted out. So hopefully that answers that a little bit. But definitely, I think, like you said, guys, Coach Saban treats this game like any other game, but it's just naturally going to be more serious, and guys are going to be more focused.
We're live in Dallas. This is our post Music City Bowl broadcast here, but we're getting ready for Alabama and Cincinnati in the semifinals coming up. Glad to have you here. It's our Next Round TNR platform here on all of our YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Instagram. Thanks for being along with us tonight, and also here on Twitter. Mac, I'll ask you, when you say all of that, and there's no roller coaster of emotions with Nick Saban, is there ever a concern that you get bored in practice? And I know that sounds weird that you're in the playoffs or you're getting ready for a big game, but you see, like in the Iron Bowl this year, I thought Auburn brought the fight. They were at home. They seemed to be really geeked up for that game. And I wonder sometimes if with that calmness, there comes a time where maybe there's a little complacency, and does Nick really work hard to fight that?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I'll go back to the game when we lost to Clemson, and I believe it was the national championship game. Maybe it was the semifinals. Wasn't the year that we played them in the national championship. It wasn't the 16 season or 17 championship. But whenever we played them next, I think it was the year that Quinnen Williams was going out for the draft, Josh Jacobs, and there was that feeling of kind of just, it's a mix of complacency, but it's also guys kind of, the tanks get a little bit empty. He loves to, Coach Saban is so much on preparation. And sometimes I believe, like, gosh, like, other teams are taking off practices, we're adding practices on. And so we're doing the same thing every day. That system, like you're talking about, is a very just consistent system. And so guys can tend to, and I remember I tend to sometimes not appreciate every little practice, every little snap in practice. And he does a good job of trying to fire guys up, but it just gets tough sometimes because so late in the season, it's a long football season, And like, even those small games are not a break for us. They're actually sometimes I feel like we prepare even more. And so guys do get a little bit of, just that tank gets emptied. The season goes on, and Coach Saban just loves to practice, prepare, and has so much drive to do so. So that is something that I guess guys need to watch out for, and something that sometimes does happen along the route, just because he is so consistent, and we do have the same practice schedule every single day and every single time. But he tries to mix it up a little bit for sure.
Mac Hereford is with us. More with him in a moment. A reminder, Wayne's is bringing you part of this show. Wayne's Pest Control, introducing that new Smart Pest solution. Smart Pest combines the effectiveness of traditional pest control services with 24/7 rodent monitoring. Smart Pest monitors and proactively communicates to prevent an infestation. And Smart Pest is the most intelligent, eco-friendly pest control solution available today. 866-WAYNES-1. Mention the offer code TNR to receive $60 off your initial Smart Pest service at 866-WAYNES-1, serving 100,000 customers throughout SEC country. You could follow Mac on Instagram and Twitter at Mac_Hereford, and on TikTok at Mac Hereford. Go watch all his great TikTok videos. He's TikTok famous. I know you were impressed that this team voted to basically not do anything when they got here to Dallas. They had a casino night, but that was with the team in the hotel. But as far as going out, having time out on the town, they said, no, thank you, business trip. And that impressed you.
Yeah, it definitely did. I mean, I think that you would hope that guys would rise to the occasion in times like this, but you've got all these things and all these protocols, and it's just better be safe than sorry. And so to me, it was definitely impressive that the leaders stepped up on the team. There wasn't a lot of, drawback to that. Guys are committed, and they're saying, because that's one of the most fun things on the playoff trips and all the bowl trips is getting to go do these extracurricular activities and fun things, and getting to go out on town. And, a lot of times guys make smart choices, and Coach Saban always tries to tell them, like, look, we're here at the end of the season. But to see a group of guys in this scenario come out when a time, when things are getting a little wild and crazy, to stand up and say, look, we're going to lock in right here at the end of the season, definitely something impressive. And you love to see that leadership leading into this game.
So the leadership council Nick Saban talks about does that. Is that something where Nick Saban goes to the leadership council and says, hey, I want you guys to vote to stay in? Or is it really autonomous that the players get to make that decision?
Yeah, that's a great question too, because so the leadership council, for those who don't know, it's a combination of just most of the time guys who are selected from players and coaches, small group. I think it's like usually 12 to 14 players, and guys who've kind of made themselves or asserted themselves as leaders on the team. And so that group does meet with Coach Saban, and it might be something that he might have mentioned. It might have been something where he's like, hey guys, would you want to do this? Do y'all think this would be smart? Because he knows maybe hopefully they were already previously thinking it, but a lot of times they make the end call. So he lets them have that indecision. So it did happen to be that the leadership committee was the group that made that call in the end. Now, I don't know, again, whether Coach Saban may have mentioned it to them or not, but in the end, they're the group that makes the calls.
So tell me, why Alabama for you? Why Alabama? Why not go to a Cincinnati or a group of 5 team that you would have gotten more playing time? Why Alabama?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it was somewhere I always wanted to go. I'm a fourth generation student at the University of Alabama. And so it was really important to my family. But I always told myself, I think the goal is you want to be the best at whatever you can do. So there's a Martin Luther King quote that Coach Saban uses, and he's always saying, if you want to be the best street sweeper you can be, or he's like, if you're a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper you can be. And all that to say, I wanted to be the best football player I could be. And whether I was going to get to play a lot or, do this or that I would have loved to do that. But at the end of the day, when I look at, what I left, my legacy, was I the best football player I can be, and who's going to give me the tools to do that? And that's the University of Alabama. You're playing against the best guys. You're getting to practice with them. You're getting the best coaching, the best equipment, the best nutritional staff, and the best strength staff and just everything. And so it was kind of an easy, decision for me. Again, I would have loved to play more, but when you're talking about where you're going to be the best player, it's going to be at the University of Alabama. And that's what my goal was. So.
Oh, well, it's good insight you've given us, and we appreciate that, Mac. Go follow Mac on Instagram and Twitter, Mac_Hereford, Hereford, or on TikTok at Mac Hereford. Mac, we appreciate the time.
And thank you, man. You sat with us 45 minutes watching the end of that Tennessee game. We appreciate your patience.
Yeah, we ate up a lot of here for a Thursday night.
Hey, well, I can't thank y'all enough. Again, I've watched the show a bunch, so I'm humbled and honored to have been asked to be on, and it means a ton. And I'm looking forward to this game. So really appreciate you guys, and hopefully I'll get to come back on sometime. So thank you so much, and roll tide to everybody out there.
Absolutely. Take care, Mac. Thank you. All right, that is Mac Hereford with us, giving us some good insight there. And I love listening to those guys that played for Nick Saban. And it's kind of funny in doing this over the last month or so. We've had Will Lowry say, "This is not the guy I recognize." Right?
Right.
This is not the same Nick Saban that I played for. And then you hear a guy like Mac. There's still enough of, even though maybe he is approaching it a little bit differently, there's still enough of some of those core values, though, that are not going to change for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate Mac being with us. Part of the show tonight being brought to you by Champy's World Famous Fried Chicken. Highway 119 in Alabaster open right now. Sterling and his crew can still get you a good dinner going for this Thursday night. Also something you can get going on a special New Year's Eve Friday. Maybe you're ready to watch the 2 semifinal games. Right there, Highway 119 in Alabaster tomorrow. Swing by there at Champy's World Famous Chicken. Pick up a to-go order. Go back, get in front of the TV, and cheer on the Tide tomorrow. All thanks to Sterling and his crew. Champy'sChicken.com. Champy's World Famous Fried Chicken, the home of the best tamales in the world, according to me. It's that Mississippi Delta recipe. Thank you, Champy's Chicken, for being with us here tonight. All right, a couple of other things to get to before we talk about Alabama and Cincinnati a little bit more. Lance Taylor will be along with us in a second. But a couple of the headlines today. Obviously, Tennessee just lost, so Purdue beat them. But the SEC did get a win today, and that was South Carolina beating North Carolina. They hold on to win that thing, and then Shane Beamer gets the mayonnaise bath at the end, the Duke's Mayo bath at the end there.
Sounds so weird.
Yeah, but away from that, the serious side of this game is South Carolina won 7 football games this year, and they beat a North Carolina team and a Florida team that respectively, one was a top 10 team to start the season, North Carolina, and Florida, I think, was around 14. So 2 top 15 preseason teams South Carolina beat this year, along to 7 wins. They beat an Auburn team that was in the top 25 this year. So 3 preseason top 25 wins for Shane Beamer in a year where a lot of people were projecting 4 wins and he'd be coach of the year. 3 wins, 2 wins. That's sort of the projection line for the South Carolina team. Far exceeded that with a quarterback story that is almost Disney-like.
Yeah, I mean, when you consider all the quarterbacks they have played, they've got a guy that basically was a graduate assistant that ended up playing quarterback for them. They got a guy that transferred in from a Division III program that ended up playing quarterback for them. I mean, the fact that Shane Beamer was able to piece together 7 wins somehow, it is very, I mean, that's a heck of a job. I know you do your coach of the year stuff and, Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, whoever you want to go with. Shane Beamer, I think most people thought this would be a 3-4 win tops team. And they end up with 7. I mean, they're +3 from probably even the most optimistic people for South Carolina. It's a tremendous coaching job by Shane Beamer.
Yeah, absolutely. So congratulations to him on our Sky Cam. Can we hit the Sky Cam on the main view here?
Yeah.
This is the Omni staff taking care of the deck out there right now. You can barely see, but we were getting a little dance moves while we were cleaning for a second. It was amazing out there. I mean, there's music that plays out on that patio, and we were getting some dance moves back.
It's pretty funny.
I was watching it over your shoulder there.
Yeah.
All right, before we get into more of what's going on sports wise here, what we did today around town, brought to you by our friends at Hemp Hill Services. I got a former intern, Rebecca, who lives over in Atlanta. And I saw on her Instagram feed today, her apartment complex was flooding. Rain was coming.
Well, that's no good.
Coming through, and something had just gone bad on their roof, and just water just rushing down into the hallway. Any kind of disaster or any kind of service, our friends at Hemp Hill are there for.
Well, Hemp Hill Plumbing. And listen, if something isn't running right, flowing right, draining right, or flushing right, disaster can strike at any moment. I think everybody's experienced this. We trust Adam, Chad, and the team at Hemp Hill, the ones we trust to fix it and fix it right the first time. Hemp Hill does it right, always at a fair price for all your plumbing, cooling, and heating needs. Trust the name. Birmingham's trusted since 1954. Hemp Hill Services. Call 205-229-2090, 205-229-2090 for Hemp Hill Services.
All right, so we're sitting here live at the Omni in Dallas, and then we went rolling rolling around town today. And of course, what do we do after the main show? We go and find a lot of food. And one thing we found today was good Texas barbecue.
That's
and
right.
We couldn't go to the most recommended place, which is the Pecan. The Pecan Lodge.
Pecan Lodge.
Yeah, Pecan Lodge.
We couldn't go Pecan Lodge because I'm sorry, they can't see what we're looking at. We couldn't go Pecan Lodge because of the fact that if they run out, they shut her down.
Right.
We're on till 1. There's a line that forms at like 10 a.m. So that didn't really add up well for us. There's another place called Cadillacs, not spelled like the car. It's spelled cattle, ACKS. And they are amazing. When they run out, they close the restaurant. I mean, it's done. Well, we're on till 1. We can't go there. Lockhart's is a really, really good smokehouse. So I'd eaten there before. It's in the Bishop Arts district here in Dallas. I think I've eaten there 3 times. So we went there.
And they run out of some items. Like
Sometimes,
I was going to go with.
We just missed.
What was the tips? What's it?
Burnt ends.
Burnt ends was what I wanted. And I'd always wanted to grab that. And it was so popular that we get up to we're like 4 away from the counter.
Yep.
And somebody gets the last burnt ends.
Guy walks over to the board and wipes it off.
And that's what I was going to get.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting half a chicken.
Right.
I ended up getting half a pound of ribs.
Yep.
And I ended up getting a sausage that they make right there on the property as well. And delicious. Got some deviled eggs as well. That's what I had. What did you end up having?
I ended up with some of the brisket, sausage, and 2 ribs.
And 2 ribs as well.
Yep.
So just a delicious lunch today. But yesterday we had the ribeye tacos, and I didn't have dinner after that. We had such a big lunch. I'm trending to no dinner again tonight.
Well, especially with this Tennessee game that has pushed us back as late as it has.
Yeah, but now, as funny as we start talking about food, all of a sudden,
you're hungry now.
There's a little something inside of here that's saying, hey, maybe we will get a little bit of dinner. But if you're heading out to dinner somewhere back there, whether you're in the mood for barbecue or not, always remember Culver's. Great burger, great ice cream, great dessert, and 2 locations. One right now open on 150, but a new location coming up on Highway 280.
Yeah, 119 and 280. Tattersall Park will be open very soon. Culver's, welcome to Delicious. Go by that Stadium Trace location in Hoover, out near the Hoover Met, or grab it very, very soon. Right there, 280 and 119 in Tattersall Park.
Luke Fickell is the Walter Camp National Coach of the Year. Luke's going to win a handful, maybe all of these National Coach of the Years, but Walter Camp's one of the more respected Coach of the Years, and Luke Fickell, Cincinnati's head coach, gets that award, gets that honor today. Always a good time to come out right before you play a big game.
Yeah, that's right.
Nothing like giving a little extra motivation to the other side. But there you go. Luke Fickell, Cincinnati, is the Walter Camp Coach of the Year. And, my goodness, what he has done for 2 years now. You can't deny what he is doing at Cincinnati is pretty amazing. And I think, I don't know which one is the Football Writers Association, but my National Coach of the Year vote was Luke Fickell as well.
I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, Cincinnati was a nothing program. And I know programs can change over time. And Brian Kelly is the first guy I really remember that changed that program. Butch Jones followed up Brian Kelly. He had some success. Tommy Tuberville did not.
He did not.
Luke Fickell has taken it to a different level, though, even from what Brian Kelly did. And I think he's very deserving of all of these accolades. I think the guy's a very good football coach. I want to pull it up, Jim, because he was 6-6, I think, is the interim at Ohio State. And that was a tough spot. It was basically sandwiched in between the Jim Tressel situation and then Urban Meyer taking over. So that 6-6, 6-7 was actually what he was because they lost the Gator Bowl. So that kind of stands out. And then he took over Cincinnati and went 4-8. I guarantee you at 6-7 Ohio State and then 4-8 Cincinnati, that was separated by 6 or 7 years. There probably weren't a ton of people buying his stock as a head coach.
Yep. And now
11-2, 11-3, 9-1, 13-0.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people now, if for some reason Ryan Day left, a lot of people want Luke Fickell there. I would imagine there were a lot of people that, when LSU was searching and nobody thought they were going to get Lincoln Riley, They didn't think they were going to get Jimbo. Nobody even thought about Brian Kelly. I bet a lot of people were saying we'd love Luke Fickell. And at Florida, I bet some people said I'd like Luke Fickell. So that's where he is right now. At USC, I bet some people said I'd like Luke Fickell. And now he's got at Cincinnati there. And the question becomes, do you think he will be there long term? Like, will he be, as LT always likes to ask, will he be a lifer? That's all phrase LT goes to a lot. Will he be a lifer at Cincinnati? And they're moving to the Big 12 now. And I've said it a couple of times this week. UCF, Houston, BYU, Cincinnati going to the new look Big 12. If I'm old school Big 12, the Oklahoma States, the Baylors, those teams, I'm worried because those four teams bring a little tradition of winning, a little street cred and sex appeal to a new age of football. I'm afraid 5 years from now, if I'm Oklahoma State and those teams, Iowa State and those teams left behind in the Big 12, I'm afraid Cincinnati, I'm afraid UCF. Those are going to be the people who are dominating my conference, replacing what Texas and Oklahoma have always been.
Well, I don't know if he's a lifer at Cincinnati because that Ohio State thing will always be hanging out there. I guess if you believe Ryan Day's a lifer at Ohio State, you could probably more easily sell me that Luke Fickell's a lifer at Cincinnati. The thing that's interesting, though, is a lot of big jobs, and you just named some of them, that Luke Fickell probably could have left Cincinnati for. They just cycle back around, and that's going to keep him there a little bit longer. I mean, those were premier jobs: Notre Dame, LSU, Oklahoma, Florida, USC, Oregon. I mean, you think of all the jobs that were open at one point in this offseason or even before the offseason, and Luke Fickell got none of those. I mean, if you take those off the table, Dunaway, because, I mean, I don't know what the shortest, I didn't even mention USC, by the way. I don't even know what the shortest, I know you did, what the shortest time any of those people will be at any of those schools are. But you take those schools off the table, there's not many I think you would leave Cincinnati for, if you take those off the table.
It'll be interesting to see where Luke Fickell goes if he ever leaves Cincinnati. But he could be a lifer there where that program's going. Before we bring Lance in, let's tell you our friends at Dr. Pepper, one of the big sponsors right here on the show. Thank you, Dr. Pepper, for being with us all week and for the fine folks who have bottled Dr. Pepper. Thanks for supporting our platform. I've been all over the Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar.
You love
all
that
week.
stuff, don't you?
It has been wonderful all week. Zero sugar here, Dr. Pepper, but the classic is good. And out here in Texas, they ain't afraid to flame one up. The flaming Dr. Pepper.
Interesting.
Popular shot drink here at the bars.
College football fans, what started as a season full of rivalries, close calls, and many cold cans of sweet Dr. Pepper is now coming to a close. So raise a Dr. Pepper to celebrate another glorious season of football in Fansville by Dr. Pepper, the one fans deserve. LT is with us now. We're going to lose. Hang on. We're going to lose the skyline. We're just going to go double box with LT. Right. Lance, the ending of that Tennessee-Purdue game was pretty crazy.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, fun game to watch. Unfortunately, I had Tennessee -7.5, so it really didn't matter what happened in overtime. But, boy, they got robbed.
Yeah,
I just don't understand why you blow a whistle in that situation when a guy is still fighting for the goal line.
Yeah, I agree with you, and they're going to say progress was stopped, and the whistle doesn't matter, and you can't replay it and all that, blah, 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 blah. But as I said, Lance, as we started the show, we let you pull people into the end zone now or push people down the field. Sometimes the running back's feet aren't even on the ground when we're pushing you into the end zone. This kid was still fighting. You got to let that play out. I don't care if he I understand the rule. When he says the progress is stopped, the play is over with, it can't be reviewed. I'm saying it was poor judgment, him saying the progress was stopped. The kid was still fighting.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't understand, like, if there's a safety issue, I just don't get it. I mean, it was, split second. It was an obvious touchdown. Tennessee got completely robbed in what was an incredible game.
Yeah. But
that Tennessee offense is weird, though. And I know the footing was bad out there. It was kind of a slippery track, but they looked so good in the first quarter. And this is kind of like the definition of Tennessee's season overall is, how they would get in the red zone against teams like Georgia and Alabama, and then they would sputter out. They'd look good for a quarter, and then they'd look bad for a quarter. The defense at times would be a complete train wreck. I think they had 7 PIs today.
Yep. And they did, including that one big one that either let Purdue take the lead or tie it back up, a 70-yard touchdown pass. That was one guy who I think had 4 called on him already in the game. So he's tied up, and he lets go of the guy so he didn't get another flag on him. and he falls to the ground, and it ends up being a 70-yard touchdown. It becomes a factor. But back to that offense, guys. I mean, you know, they do so many things right, but then they rush up to the line, they run a play on a 3rd and 2 or a 4th and 1, and get blown up and can't get a yard or 2 yards. And we can talk about the call all you want, and I think it was a bad call, but Heupel had worked it and ran it down to like the 2-yard line. And then they threw a pass on 1st down, and they just ran it for like 11 yards, and Purdue's gassed. Why do you not, you know, just keep running it down their throat sometimes? Sometimes it just baffles me. They try to be smarter than everybody else in the stadium.
Yeah, I don't get it. And I forgot what the situation was. I'm trying to look at it here. Tennessee was up 3, and they had the ball like on the 25 of Purdue, and it was 4th and basically inches. And of course, they go out of shotgun, and it's a option read, and Hendon Hooker keeps it and gets stuffed for a 2-yard loss. And then when they get in a goal line situation, he gets under center. Yeah. I can't really explain it.
Well, Dave says the side judge was ready to catch a flight home.
Yeah,
he was running in there blowing the whistle.
Chances are it's going to be canceled anyway, so don't rush.
That's right. Good point. Trace says, should we be talking more about going for it on 4th down? I think that's the 4th down he's talking about.
Yeah.
Because Lance, I don't know if I have a problem with going for it. I'm with you. I wasn't crazy about the call.
Yeah, look, it was going to be roughly a 45-yard field goal.
Yeah.
I think I'm looking for this right here. I'll find it.
No, you're about right. I think they were on the 25, 26-yard line, somewhere in there. Yeah. So I think you've got it right.
Yeah, but you've also got you could have kicked the field goal there when he stretches it across, right?
What, in overtime?
Yeah. I mean, you could have kicked the field goal there.
I didn't feel like field goals were going to do me much in overtime, though.
Yeah, but that's what
here
Purdue
it
ended
was.
up kicking the
Well, that's all they needed.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah, it was at the 24, so it would have been 41, 42-yard field goal. It was 4th and 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and again, the footing's bad. So, I mean, if the footing's bad for everyone, it's bad for the kickers, too.
Yeah, it did. It was not a great field, as they were talking about.
Okay, here's some reaction from you guys and our social media platforms and the Farmfolio chat room over here. And this reaction being brought to you by the great folks at Wayne's. Give us a little Wayne's read here, and I'll get some of this reaction right
Sure.
here.
Listen, Wayne's right now wants to remind you that they serve the heart of the SEC country, and they've done it since 1973. More than 100,000 customers with pro-certified quality. Only 5% of pest control companies are certified in the United States. They are part of that. 866-WAYNES-1, 866-WAYNES-1. It is the only company that our show trusts for our pest control and for our yard service, making our yards look great, the best in the neighborhood, green as they can be. 866-WAYNES-1. That's 866-WAYNES-1.
Chris says UT needs a giant bullshit flag that they could raise after that call right there. Chad says, I'm sure had the ball gotten stripped and Purdue ran it back for a game-winning touchdown, Tennessee's fans' opinions of the play would have been different. They'd have been screaming that his progress had been stopped.
Well, that is true.
That is probably exactly right. Jason does unfortunately, the rule states that the forward progress was stopped short. There's no way to overturn it. Reed, there's no rule here, though. It's a judgment call, and in my case, it was a poor judgment call there. And Andrew says, no way. He was dead stopped, then a beat, and then the red starts to run in to the spot, and then he reaches it out for the end zone. Forward progress was stopped, so Andrew thinks it's called there. So really on our social media platform, really is split when it comes to the ruling there.
You know what's funny is probably the majority of people where it's split either had Purdue plus the 7.5 or they're Alabama fans. But I did find this, somewhat interesting. Talking to a couple of Alabama fans during that game, they were like, they were pulling for Tennessee. And they said, it's so weird. In all of my lifetime, I've never been able to pull for Tennessee, but Tennessee is such a non-threat to Alabama. It's easy to pull for Tennessee.
Wow. Craig says, as a Titans fan, I never understand why the turf is so bad this time of year. It's a goat track.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
they plant that slick bluegrass?
I'm sure they go rye.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's green, it's got to be something like that. And that is a very slick surface. If you're going to have natural turf, being in Nashville, Tennessee, late December, early January, it's not going to be very good.
Well, how do we have natural grass up north? And we have it at Soldier Field or in New England or someplace like that?
You do.
They're messes.
I'll tell you, obviously George Toma is not available in Nashville. The end zone looked worse than what you get in the Rainbow Tunnel downtown. As far as the graffiti's better in the Rainbow Tunnel than whatever kind of paint job they tried to do.
Well, they tried to cover up the Titans logo, and it did not work.
Part of our show tonight being brought to you by Champy's world famous fried chicken at Champy's. Not only dinner tonight, but you can get hooked up tomorrow before the doubleheader starts of the semifinal games and enjoy a nice tailgate in front of the TV tomorrow and cheer on the Tide and Dogs or whoever else you want to cheer for tomorrow. Champy's world famous chicken, those tamales, chicken on the stick, poor boys, tenders, the chicken plates, all the sides. You're home for Blues and Brews and Bird is Champy's world famous fried chicken, Highway 119 in Alabaster, champyschicken.com. Whether you're a party of one or a whole busload, Sterling will take care of you right there at that location, Highway 119 in Alabaster.
Lance can judge us because we can't see the game. Troy says, I can't think of two worse teams to draw a crowd in Atlanta than Michigan State and Pitt. Yeah. Is the Peach Bowl crowd that bad, LT?
Well, the Michigan State fans showed up. It's a tricky game because, obviously the two best players in Kenneth Walker and Kenny Pickett aren't playing tonight. And I think the number 2 quarterback's already gone down for Pitt.
Jeez.
So I think they're down to number 3. And by the way, I've got Pitt already 0-2 today. It's been a disastrous week for me, fellas.
Yeah. Yeah.
You mean on the picks or just overall?
Just overall.
You're in protocol and the picks are there with you right now.
Hey, by the way, let me tell you this just real quick. I mean, since we're all friends and we can just talk out loud. So the roommate who hasn't left my side this entire time and exact same symptoms, just got a call from the same nurse and she tested negative.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, either of those tests could be wrong. They could both be right. Who even knows anymore, Lance?
Well, she just told me that either we've got 2 false positives or a false positive and a false negative or a false positive. I mean, so it's either a false positive or false negative. One of the two is wrong.
Yeah.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, if both of you have the same exact symptoms and you share a room and a house and a couch, then, yeah, exactly. My son, though, somehow he never watches our platform, but somehow it got back to him and he was on me in a video call with my wife before he started to do a test before I get back in the house. He doesn't want me to come home. I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, you've been close to Mr. LT. I know you have. And I said, I haven't seen him since Monday. I'm fine. I've never felt better.
Wait till he watches these videos and hears me talk.
Yeah. I'm more worried about this guy than I was Lance.
And that's the weird thing is I feel amazing. Like I could go run right now. And I sound awful.
You couldn't run after the lunch we had.
That was a big lunch.
I'll tell you this, though. Real quick, just with so many guys, coming out of like Andrew Whitworth for the Rams just got, he cleared protocol, so he's going to be active for the Sunday game against the Ravens. If what I really have is COVID, I'm so fatigued. I don't know how these guys come out of protocol if they were positive and then go play 60 minutes of an NFL game. Kudos to them.
You'd feel different if we pumped you with a couple IVs the next couple of days.
Well, that's true. Hey, I'm pumping myself with my first Bud Lights though since Christmas.
Yeah, I had a couple before the show started myself.
I was saving this question, but since you said that, Michael asked this on YouTube. LT, do you have a go-to bourbon to help you feel better?
I do tomorrow night. I'm going to wait for the bourbon for New Year's Eve. I've got a lot of stuff planned for tomorrow night. I had man, it's so depressing. I had such a big night planned for the kids over here. And obviously because I'm on the shelf now, it's just going to be me, the roommate, and Lady Bird. But I've got a lot of different things planned. I've got stages of wine to bourbons. I'll probably start with beer during the Alabama-Cincinnati game. It's going to be a big day.
Yeah. Philip says, tell Dunaway's son on YouTube, if you walk outside, you've gotten exposed. That's pretty much it, right? Everybody's got it.
That's my point. We go to breakfast every Saturday. I try to tell him that the person who's scrambling your eggs right now could have it.
Yeah, everybody in the world's got it right now.
I mean, the nurse I talked to said that 65% of the people that got tested yesterday were positive.
Yeah. Yeah. And I bet you it's higher than that.
Yeah. I literally will fly in a tube to get home. When does he want me to get tested? Yeah. And
fellas, this is a roll of the dice right now.
Yeah, and it always has been. That's when we kept moving forward, and even though they kept us apart for 377 days, we kept doing our show every day. And we're doing it here tonight, and it's brought to you in part by the great folks at where do you want to go here? You want to
go
Hemp Hill?
If something's not running right, flowing right, draining right, or flushing right, disaster can strike at any moment. We trust Adam, Chad, and the team at Hemp Hill. The fix it and fix it right the first time. They do it right and at a fair price. For all your plumbing, cooling, and heating needs, trust the name Birmingham has trusted since 1954. That is Hemp Hill Services. Call now, 205-229-2090. That's 205-229-2090. It's funny, the reactions we get. Steve, at Next Round Live, SEC officials are officially the worst in the country. Questionable calls and non-calls during the whole game. One big problem with that tweet.
Wasn't SEC officials.
It was not SEC officials in that game.
Well, he's saying SEC officials are not the worst.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
Excuse
saying
me.
that crew's now the worst.
Well, who was that? Was that ACC?
Oh.
I think it was ACC, if I'm not mistaken.
It was ACC or Pac-12.
Yeah.
I thought it was an ACC crew, but who knows? Clint Lamb, who covers Alabama for On3 Sports, just sends this out. If Alabama gets by Cincinnati tomorrow, it'll be the 9th national title appearance for the Crimson Tide in the last 13 seasons under Nick Saban, 2009, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, and 21. That is an amazing run. So we're sitting here on the eve of the game now with that as the backdrop. And my vocabulary, and even Brown's great vocabulary, and LT in between you and me, can't put into words what this run has been. And
astounding.
And no, that's not even a good enough word.
You're probably right.
And there's no end in sight right now. And I've watched, Lance, every video feed that has come from practices this week here at AT&T Stadium, and I've watched all these photos that have come. Nick Saban is so involved in practice at age 70. I mean, he is still up there calling plays. He's demonstrating blocks. He's demonstrating coverages. He still throws passes in practice, just like he did when he arrived in Tuscaloosa. That's not the way coaches of yesteryear coached. There were always those that managed and let their assistants coach. Some stood in towers like Bear Bryant and would occasionally come down. He has always been involved in practices, and he is still engaged and involved in practices. It looks exactly the same as it did in 2008 and 2009 with this guy, and that to me is more astounding than those numbers I just read, that he is still that engaged in practices. He's not a CEO of practice or this program. He is still hands-on everything, just like he was when he got here.
You know, it's unprecedented. It really is. And it's almost like, I don't know what the percentage of marriages are where, people, it's 50-50 whether or not people get divorced. And this might be a terrible analogy, but even
it's off to an interesting start. I'll say that. Let's go.
Well, let's say that 90% of the couples that stay married for the remainder of their lives, they still don't have that passion, and they still don't, pop their other better half on the backside, and you still don't have PDA. It's like Nick Saban is still in the honeymoon phase with this program, and it's like he's never lost this spark. And from day one to where it is right now, although he has changed a little bit, maybe as an individual, the way he carries himself and the way he commands this team, his passion for this is the exact same. And it's just something you don't see. Going back to the couples analogy, you just don't see this typically.
Yeah, I mean, he anybody that knows anything about him knows, Lance, he's an extremely driven guy. And he just is singularly focused on building a dominant program. And you got to give him credit for that. Now, that's hard to do.
Yeah. But I love what we do here.
Yeah.
I love what we do here. But there are occasionally over a course of a year, days I have to really motivate myself to come in and try to bring the energy. It doesn't happen often, and I'm very thankful for that. But occasionally there are days I'm like, man, it's going to be a long 4 hours. And truthfully, today was one of them. I mean, we're on the road. It feels like we've been out here forever.
Mm-hmm.
And
your co-host doesn't have a voice.
I was sitting here at 8:30. Brown was, doing,
sounds like a duck.
Technically, to get us from out here doing everything we've been doing, this guy's been wiring and rewiring stuff all week long. It's been a work in progress all week. He's got it dialed in perfectly. And I just sit over in the chair and watch him work his ass off to get us on the air here. And we were getting ready to go today, and he's still working, getting us ready to go for the 9 o'clock show. It's at 8:30. And I'm sitting here talking to some Alabama folks, and they're like, well, we're going to go do this pep rally, and then we're going to do this. And and then we'll be back here at 2:00. What are you guys doing? And I said, well, we're going to be right here doing a show for the next 4 hours. And then when I said that, I thought to myself, wow, we're about to do 4 hours, and we do it every day. This guy's been coaching football, and he's as excited in April and June and July as he is right now. To your analogy, LT, he is Ryan Gosling The Notebook, and he is in love till death do you part with his program.
He's writing a letter every day. But you think about it, go back to 2018. They got embarrassed by Clemson. 19, they didn't even make a playoff. So it's like a new challenge every year. 20 probably had his best team, but the challenge was the first year of COVID, you've got a full SEC regular season schedule. You're able to navigate that, go on and have one of the best teams in the history of college football. And this year, I think we would all agree the talent really dropped off. They were behind the 8 ball middle of the season, losing to Texas A&M. There was no margin of error at all, and he was able to navigate them to getting back to a number 1 seed. So I think he finds challenges within the season, going into the season all of the time. He's just, I don't know, he's just a genius. There's a lot of people that aren't Alabama fans that don't want to hear that, but that's just the fact of the matter.
Don't forget our coverage brought to you in part by our friends at Culver's. 2 great locations coming soon in Birmingham. One right now, Stadium Trace in Hoover, just off 459 and 150 near the Hoover Met. Coming soon to Tattersall Park, the corner of 119 and 280. Culver's, welcome to Delicious.
All right. So, LT, we're on the eve of the games. Let's start first, and we'll talk more about it in our live show tomorrow. Remember, we're live 7 to 11 tomorrow, 7 to 11. So it'll be an early morning as we do morning drive again tomorrow. Let's start down in Miami, and then we'll work our way to Alabama and Cincinnati. Now, let's do it different. Let's do it the opposite, because they tell you that you, in these formats, you go with your strong to the end. So we'll go Alabama, Cincinnati. Your thoughts as we're on the eve of the game now. How does Cincinnati stay in this game? Because if they're gonna have a shot in the fourth quarter, how do they have a shot in the fourth quarter to pull the upset?
I think Cincinnati's going to have to put some pressure on Bryce Young. You think about the offensive line as well as they played against Georgia. The offensive line has given up 4 or more sacks in 4 games, and opposing quarterbacks are only completing 54% of their passes against the Bearcats when they've had pressure on the quarterback. Almost twice as many interceptions, 18 to 10 touchdowns when applying that pressure. We know about the lockdown cornerbacks and Ahmad Gardner and Kobe Bryant. So you've got elite cornerbacks out there. You're missing John Mechie. You've got a guy that actually can control the clock offensively with Jerome Ford. So if Jerome Ford can have success running the football, Cincinnati can get pressure on Bryce Young, get to Bryce Young a few times. I think this could be a really interesting game. Again, we talked about this earlier on the next round. I think Cincinnati comes into this game with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I do think they have confidence, Cincinnati. And, confidence can only overcome so much, though. And there is a roster differential. It's only natural. The way Alabama recruits versus the recruits Cincinnati's able to get. Can they match up at 4, 5, 6, 7 spots with Alabama? Sure they can. But there are 22 spots out there. And at some point, that differential is going to catch up. Lance, Cincinnati can't go 22 for 22 with Alabama. They can't match the 22 that Bama can put out there with their guys. So when that happens, what that normally means is the team that's got that superior roster has to make some mistakes. And we just don't see Bryce Young do a lot of that. And that's why it's on those 2 corners to try to force Bryce Young into those mistakes or getting pressure on Bryce Young. He just does not make mistakes.
But if I'm Luke Fickell, I'm selling this. Look, guys, we played Georgia within 3 last year. We should have won that game. We've won 23 of 24. We had Notre Dame, a top 5 team, down 17 at half at their building. We beat them by double digits. We've got 33 seniors here. This is the moment we've built up. You guys, we played for getting into this college football playoff. We're finally here. This is an Alabama team that lost to Texas A&M. I don't know how you guys feel. I think Cincinnati beats Texas A&M. It's an Alabama team that went to 4 overtimes with Auburn. I think Cincinnati beats Auburn.
Yep.
It's an Alabama team that should have lost to LSU. Cincinnati beats LSU. Cincinnati, Luke Fickell can sell his guys on. You look at all of these games that Alabama lost to A&M, and they came down to a final possession against these other teams. We're better than these teams. This is our opportunity.
Okay, Georgia and Michigan. Before we start winding down here, Georgia and Michigan. I think this is going to be a contest to the end. But a lot of people, and I think you, LT, thinks Georgia may flex their muscle in this one.
Yeah, I think Michigan's already playing with house money. I don't know how you guys feel about this. Michigan's the first team to make a playoff that was unranked to begin the season. And, there wasn't really much expectation for Jim Harbaugh on this Michigan team. And now they're sitting in a college football playoff, and it's a really good team that should be undefeated. They run the football exceptionally well with Quorum and Haskins. McNamara is not a quarterback that's going to be able to beat this Georgia defense. I think the outlier was the 521 that Alabama put on Georgia. I think Georgia's defense will flex. I think they will come back. I think Brock Bowers is going to be a matchup nightmare for Michigan. I think it gets away early for Michigan. I think Georgia jumps out early, up 7-14 at half, and I think they just slowly steamroll this team.
Yeah. We haven't seen Georgia still, even with Alabama winning this game over Georgia, we just really haven't seen Georgia get in trouble early and have to dig out, Lance. The only time I can remember that really happening to them was at Tennessee. And, we just saw that's a 500 Tennessee squad. But even Alabama didn't do that to them. They were up 10-0 on Alabama, and Alabama fought back. And then once that ball started rolling, Georgia didn't have a ton of answers. It would be interesting, and we may not see it this year. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see whatever happens if Georgia gets down 14 like that.
Well, and I really wonder where Todd Monken and Kirby Smart are right now talking to Stetson Bennett. Because, in the mind of Stetson Bennett, that's what's so important, because you wonder where his confidence is. There's so many people right now nationally calling for JT Daniels. And, I think you guys agree with me. Stetson Bennett is the guy that you have ridden with. He's the guy that should play the full 60 minutes tomorrow outside of an injury. I think he's played exceptionally well outside of Alabama. I didn't think he played awful in the Alabama game, but you just wonder where Stetson Bennett's confidence is. If he comes into this game confident, the way he was the first 12 games of the season, Georgia will be fine.
Real quick, I want to go back to Cincinnati because these are good points, and this is a difference, I think, Dunaway and Lance, in a team like Alabama that plays in the SEC and a team like Cincinnati that plays in the American. Far from a terrible conference, the American, but I think you'll see the point here. Back-to-back responses on YouTube from Clifton. Cincinnati does not beat Texas A&M in that environment. He's talking about the one Alabama had to play in, obviously. Craig, Cincinnati does not beat Auburn at Auburn. Look.
That's true, but would those environments be what it is if it was Cincinnati coming to town,
but I think that's their point.
Yeah.
I think that's their point is, Lance, when Alabama goes and plays in these environments, they're playing the team, the environment, a team that's, playing their best game of the year. Cincinnati goes and plays a team that might be playing their best game of the year because it is Cincinnati. It's the best team of their conference. But they're playing in front of 22, 23,000 fans, 25,000 fans, 30,000 fans. It's just that is a factor. That's a factor.
Well, let me say this, though. I've only been to South Bend one time, and I went to a Tennessee Notre Dame game, and it was a really good environment. It wasn't what you get at a major SEC stadium. But I would assume that day in South Bend, you had an undefeated Cincinnati team that was a top 10 team. You had an undefeated Notre Dame team. That's still a good atmosphere.
Yeah, that's a tough spot for them. I don't disagree with that. All right, our show and our coverage here presented by Dr. Pepper. College football fans, what started as a season full of rivalries, close calls, and many cold cans of sweet Dr. Pepper is now coming to a close. So raise a Dr. Pepper to celebrate another glorious season of football and Fansville by Dr. Pepper, the one fans deserve.
Our friend Rob is in Atlanta doing some work with the Peach Bowl, and he's watching us there. He says, I'm here in Atlanta. You guys were talking about the crowd. He goes, I cannot tell you the misfit of football fans, and he's a guy who's usually around the SEC a lot. He says to be among Pittsburgh and Michigan State football fans, it is just an odd mix of a different world.
Yeah, it's got to be kind of weird.
Yeah.
I mean, the Pitt call now the Pittsburgh Steeler fan, passionate. The Pitt fan,
I don't know one.
I don't know that I've ever met a Pitt football fan.
Yeah, I think it's kind of their secondary, their second love. It's their mistress, so to speak.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're a Steeler fan or
Michigan
fan.
State. Yeah. They like the Red Wings, they like the Lions, they like the Pistons. You're right on the Steelers. I mean, this is just, hey, this is kind of cool. We've had a pretty good season. We've won double-digit games. Let's go to Atlanta and let's have a big night.
Yeah, but very early on, they told you Kenny Pickett and Kenneth Walker weren't going to play, and you're like, Honey, I'm about to buy the tickets to the Peach Bowl. What's that on the ticker? Oh, Kenny Pickett's not playing. Let's go to the Steelers game instead.
That's right. Yeah.
Go watch Big Ben's last game at home.
I'd rather go to watch a Falcons game in Atlanta than go watch this.
Yeah. Give us a score update, LT. You got one? I see you turning around there.
Yeah, Pitt just scored. I'm trying to see what it is right now. Kenny Pickett's up in the booth, by the way.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
So 14-10 Pitt with 102 left in the first half.
Always good when you opt out, but you decide to go to the game anyway.
That's right. I'm going to sit in the booth, not going to stand on the sidelines. I'll take a headset up there.
Hey, why not take a free trip, go out in Atlanta, tell all the ladies you're going to be a first-round pick?
Yeah, why not? Why not? 100%. All right, before we get out of here, remember 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. We'll crank this thing back up just a few.
What time did you want me, Dunaway?
What now?
What time did you want me?
Well, I know Jim. I was going to mention this because I know Jim said, "Hey, why don't you hit us at 9?" I don't know if you can tell.
I can tell.
I'm game time. I mean,
how about this? I will be up at 5:30. I will text. We'll see how the voice is.
All right.
If the voice is not good, then I power through and I'm with you guys at 7. If the voice is great, I'll see you guys around 8 or 9.
All right. Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Sounds
fair? As I said live on the air today, I appreciate you giving us anything. We're better as 3 than we are with 2. And we're a lot better than if it's 1 and just me.
Yeah.
No,
so
I will plan on 7, but I will get up at 5:30, Brown. And if your voice is unbelievable today, if you don't stay out yelling over DJs tonight,
buddy, I 2 more things on my agenda tonight. I got to interview Slade Bolden as soon as they're finished with their meetings. Michael was asking that earlier if I've talked to Slade yet. Not yet. They have meetings. He had told me it was going to be a little bit later tonight.
That's a great excuse for the people in the wide receiver room. We heard that from Mechie a couple of times.
So I got to talk to Slade Bolden.
You heard that from Dunaway. You heard that from who?
That's fantastic.
Ask me a couple of questions.
So did you watch any movies in the bye week?
Yeah.
Which one?
Oh man, I watched a few. I don't really remember the names of them.
I didn't know the post-COVID LT
I
does
love it.
impersonations.
Cal said, "Eating dinner, then breakfast for the next round. What a time to be alive!
What a time to be!"
Hey, we love you, Cal. Thank you. What a day.
It is.
Here's what we're going to do with these shows in the future. Eventually, we're going to have a studio, not a studio, but we're going to have an audience. We're going to figure this thing out, and then we're going to start inviting people to bars. These first few shows, we were just trying to make sure we technically can do it. Once we technically get it dialed in, we're going to start doing it where we can have people on location somewhere. We're going to do it from a bar with a live microphone, and we're going to grow this thing. And eventually, we're going to make these shows a lot more enjoyable.
Jim's got a vision.
I've got a vision, man, about these shows.
Okay, wait. So do we have I guess we need to talk about this at some point, so we might as well throw it out there right now. So if Alabama wins, are we planning on going to Indianapolis?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Some of us
When
are.
would we leave?
Friday after the show.
Yeah, Friday.
Okay. And we drive.
Yeah, I think driving is going to be your best option. The directs to Indianapolis are tough.
Yep.
It's not a bad drive. I've done it.
And they're getting canceled left and right, especially the Deltas.
Yeah, I think, we're going to have such a narrow window. We can't afford a cancellation.
Yeah. Because we're going to go up there and we're going to do Saturday shows, Sunday shows, and then Monday morning, our normal Monday night after the game, and then Tuesday morning, and then drive back.
Okay, well, I'm down.
I'm always wondering if he froze.
No, I'm down. I was thinking out loud because I know 2 people that are going to be flying to Indianapolis. Do we try to jump on board with them?
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was an option.
Are they flying?
Yes,
are they flying a jet?
Yes.
Oh yeah, they're flying private.
Oh well, then yes.
Yes.
I was not aware that was what you were asking.
Well, we do have some equipment.
That's okay. It's not heavy. 55 pounds. They weighed it at the airport.
52 pounds.
55.
55 pounds.
Yeah, it's on the sticker right over there. 55.
All right. That's our show tonight. I love your backdrop, LT, and look forward to seeing it tomorrow morning, either at 7, 8, or 9.
Charles,
get that voice well.
I'm going to. Charles says, Brown, I'll have you there in 4 hours if he drives.
Yeah. Especially if they're sharp curves. Absolutely. All right. We're in Dallas, man. We're gonna go do more Dallas things.
Yeah.
There's a ranch water calling my name.
See you, LT.
So long, man. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to our friends at Dr. Pepper. Thanks to Wayne's, Hemp Hill. Culver's and Champy's world famous fried chicken. We appreciate all of you guys. That is our Cotton Bowl Road Show. We've got one more we'll do after the game tomorrow from the stadium. So get our usual Saturday breakout brought to you all those same people tomorrow night immediately or as close as we can legally after the game tomorrow. And we'll get reaction before you flip it over to watch all the Georgia stuff tomorrow. There's the skyline. Give me full skyline.
Yeah, that's we're going to do it like TV. We're going to go
give me full
skyline.
Give me full skyline to say goodbye here. Full skyline. They can't hear me.
Yeah, we couldn't do that.
Yeah, you can't hear me when you put me out there. There's the skyline.
Yep.
We'll put skyline.
Beautiful.
We're gonna put the skyline up for 10 seconds after I'm through talking, and then the show is over with. Trademark now, Brown.